In the mid-20th century, J.R.R. Tolkien spent more than a decade constructing the deep history of Middle-earth. The resurfacing of a single ancient weapon drives the narrative of its third age. Sauron's One Ring contains a substantial portion of his own power. It was forged for absolute dominion, designed to subjugate the minds of anyone who wears it. This mechanism makes traditional, powerful warriors a liability. The Council of Elrond realizes that the ring corrupts anyone who tries to wield it, regardless of their intentions. To destroy the ring, the Fellowship must travel from the elven sanctuary of Rivendell to the volcanic fires of Mount Doom. This map illustrates the vast physical distance they must cover to reach the enemy's heartland. But this unified expedition fractures at the Falls of Rauros. The ring's influence leads the warrior Boromir to attempt to seize it, forcing Frodo to flee the company and travel east alone. Analytical tone. Tolkien used this structural fracture to execute a medieval narrative technique called entrelacement, or interlacing. This branching architecture allowed him to manage the global scale of the war by tracking multiple perspectives simultaneously. The first narrative thread follows Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. They represent the martial strength of the Free Peoples as they rally the kingdoms of men. Their track focuses on political renewal and massive mobilization. They break Saruman's influence over Rohan and participate in the siege of Helm's Deep, while the Ents destroy the industrial fortress of Isengard. This traditional heroic warfare reaches its peak at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, where the armies of Gondor and Rohan engage in a staggering, high-impact clash just outside the capital city. The parallel thread focuses on a much smaller scale. Frodo and Sam begin a survival-focused stealth mission, navigating the wasteland toward Mordor without military support. Their journey is defined by moral choices rather than martial skill. When they capture the wretched creature Gollum, Frodo chooses to show mercy and spare his life, taking him on as a guide. As they move through the dead marshes and Shelob's lair, we witness the escalating psychological burden of the entire quest. The ring slowly erodes Frodo's mind, while the physical terrain of the waste decays their bodies. Structurally, these two separate tracks depend entirely on each other. After the victory at Gondor, Aragorn realizes his armies cannot defeat Sauron through sheer military force. He decides to use his remaining soldiers as a suicidal decoy. By marching directly on the Black Gate, he draws Sauron's focus and his armies away from the interior of Mordor. This tactical diversion clears a path across the plains of Gorgoroth. With the eye of Sauron fixed on the gate, the hobbits have a window to cross the final threshold of the journey. This strategy subverts the standard logic of epic warfare. Grand movements of kings and armies exist solely to buy time for the most vulnerable characters. That journey ends at the Crack of Doom. This barren, volcanic peak represents the geographic and emotional finish line for the ring-bearer. At this threshold, the story reaches what Tolkien called discatastrophe, the absolute limit of failure. Frodo's willpower finally breaks under the weight of the ring, and he claims the weapon for himself. The mission is only saved because of the mercy Frodo showed earlier. Gollum is present to bite the ring from Frodo's finger and fall into the fire, finally destroying Sauron's power. Tolkien defined this moment as a eucatastrophe, the sudden, joyous turn where success is achieved through grace operating through broken, flawed individuals. With the ring destroyed, the hobbits return home. They move from the fires of war back to the pastoral baseline of the Shire. They find a homeland that has been industrialized and corrupted by a fallen Saruman. This scouring of the Shire brings the reality of the war to their own front doors. The four hobbits lead an uprising to liberate their community without the help of wizards or kings. Their victory demonstrates an earned maturity that the characters didn't possess at the start of the journey. Even with the Shire restored, the quest leaves permanent spiritual scars. Frodo eventually departs Middle-earth from the Grey Havens, showing that victory often carries a profound personal cost. The survival of Middle-earth rests on the humility and endurance of its most ordinary people. In Tolkien's world, the final defeat of evil requires the quiet perseverance and mercy of those who seek no power for themselves.